when you start a YouTube channel, it is very hard to keep your mind and think, I'm going to keep on going when you have so little traction and revenue for quite some time. And I would say sometimes it can last a year, even easily, even in a 2 years kind of territory. So I think after 1 or 2 years into the business, I was kind of starting to feel like I'm going to quit this. There's interest, but I'm never going to be able to live from this.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Blitz Growth. Really excited today. We have an unbelievable guest for you. Stephane has one of the most mouth-watering YouTube channels I've ever seen. With over 700,000 subscribers, he definitely knows how to make engaging content that is super, super interesting. So excited to get into that. What is even more impressive is the business that he's been able to build off this via the form of educational content. Really excited to learn about that and share some amazing insights there. Stephane, love to dive in and introduce you. Thank you so much for joining. And how's your day going so far?
Good. It's a bit early here, but very glad to be on your show, Jack. Like it's actually the first time I come to this type of podcast, which is a great thing for me. I think to have a chat and be able to share some of my experience, I guess, and hopefully it's going to be useful.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that you're in Australia right now, and I'm not.
That's true. It's such an odd thing, So for the record, just very quickly, my wife is Australian. That's why I'm in Australia, because people will ask, "Oh my God, you're French, you're," and a lot of people do think so. But and as you will discover, I can tell you this the reason behind actually why I've started all this is a bit linked to Australia, actually.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive into that story in a moment because we definitely want to know the link between Australia and the French Cooking School Academy.
Yeah, for sure.
So getting started, what was your sort of background before you started creating cooking content? And for everybody who's just tuning in, Stephane has an amazing YouTube channel. Go and check it out. All around cooking, French cuisine. But walk us through kind of like how you got to the point you are at now. And sort of, did you have the skill set before? Why did you start filming content to put on YouTube? How did a business evolve from that in the form of a training academy? Just quickly walk us through that process, because I know it's been 6 or 7 years or something since you started all of this, on YouTube anyway. But yeah, walk us through how you got where you started and how you got to this point.
Yeah, so the most surprising thing that really stunned most people is that I'm not a cook by trade, by any stretch of the imagination. And actually, before this started, I was an IT guy. I was working with computers. I actually had a day job working with computers and nothing to do at all with cooking. And the reason it all started, and how I started, and the link to Australia, is that we came here with Kate, about, I think it was in 2012, to settle down here and get married. And what I've realized when I came to Australia, the first thing is all the food I was used to get, all the restaurants, the bakeries, all the good stuff, the bistros, that was all gone. And, there was not much as the typical authentic French food. And I quickly realized, if I want to have any of those things, I'm going to have to cook myself. But the problem is that I was not at all a cook. And someone said, I'm going to have to kind of learn cooking, which is a bit odd, because it sounds odd for a French guy to say that, because people think, he's French, he knows how to cook. But no, I had lots of passion for food, like eating food and sitting at a table at a restaurant. More like a food critic, but the kitchen side, no. So
very different, eating it versus making it.
Yeah, well, as I discovered. So basically, in a nutshell, I started to crunch the internet for like recipes and maybe look at YouTube is another place, but looking at resources over there. And the first thing I've realized is that there was really not much resources out there in French and English. And I couldn't really find all the stuff I wanted. And in France, it's quite common to have all these books you can buy, because the culinary scene is different than Australia. Mm-hmm. And I thought, instead of like scrounging, maybe I should just kind of teach myself cooking, because I'm going to have to cook anyway. And what I decided to do at home is that's how it started. I bought a culinary school book from France. This is the book that all students use to learn cooking when they go to a school. And it's like a step-by-step thing, lesson 1 to lesson whatever. And I said, I'm going to take that, go through lesson by lesson and teach myself. And because I was working in IT and YouTube was kind of a thing, I said, maybe I should kind of, for the fun, why don't I take my iPhone and record myself going through the lessons and share it, because since there's no resources out there, it might be useful for some people out there, you know?
Yeah.
And the idea sounded great and excited, but you'll be surprised that my first, I think, 30 ever videos were 30 lessons on how to peel and cut vegetables. And that was not like I remember grinding celery or today we're doing the beetroots and cauliflower.
That's one of your most popular videos, actually.
Exactly. And these were kind of cringing towards the quality, but yeah, this is how it really all started, out of necessity, which is quite odd. And I kind of fell into that thing, and it snowballed from there, from learning the basic, going through that book. And I think what happened, that was amazing, that I rediscovered my own culture and cuisine. And the more I was doing the lesson, the more I was going into this. It was still, just for fun. At the beginning, there's no intention of business. Well, I had my full-time job, but I was enjoying it. And the more I was learning, I got intrigued, and it kind of snowballed from there. Like I just got interested. I found an audience that I realized, like what I've noticed in the market, there was a gap. There was something missing for that information, and that I've started to fill that gap, and I started to have some followers, and I say, maybe I'm onto something here. And yeah, we took it on from there, and it's the rest is kind of history. Of course, I'm not gonna don't have time to talk about the whole thing, but that's how it really all started and how I ended up on YouTube doing cooking stuff. Yeah. And wow, what a fate. It was.
Yeah, well, I was going to say a few big milestones. When you started making your first few dollars, can you recall when that happened? Like from all these videos you were making, just going through the training of learning how to cook yourself and recording it. Do you remember when you sort of like made your first few dollars?
I think for me, when you start on YouTube, I think before the dollars, because you start for fun, it's more the following and the subscribers that you look at. And at the time, YouTube was a bit different, and when I got my first 100 subscriber, I think I did some kind of video dance. I was like holding my phone and saying, "Yeah, I've got 100 subscribers," and the money, you were starting to make money, but it was really ridiculous. We can talk about it later, but I think the money, what I consider really my first money that we've earned, was much later on when we started to venture into different routes, and especially in particular the online cooking school that we had, because that's something we kind of done based on the experience, and I felt like that was really something like a product or a part of a business move that we really set out to do. And I consider most of the time this more my first dollar than the YouTube thing. It's a kind of a slow growth. It starts by a few dollars a month. You're like, hey, I'm making something, so you think, hey, I'm not doing this for absolutely nothing. But you don't really, I was not money hungry or anything like this. Yeah. But yeah, for the money, it's like, yeah, it takes some time. But I was more happy for the subscribers, and the first few dollars was a bonus, but it's so little that is just kind of a token of a reward, pat on the back, like, hey, good, you made a few videos, someone watched them, and here's $2. Yeah, that's shit. Yeah.
No, it's big, because I think the first few dollars are the hardest, and I think one of the other big milestones is the transition between having it as a part-time side hustle and then actually turning it into a full-time kind of like, okay, this is my main job now. Can you remember like when that transition happened? Was there like a certain goal that you had in mind before you would transition over, or was there, a certain amount of subscribers or revenue or something that was like, okay, now this is my main gig now?
Yeah, so the journey was interesting at the beginning, because it is a growing task. Like you said, the very first, when you start a YouTube channel, it is very hard to keep your mind and think, I'm going to keep on going when you have so little traction and revenue for quite some time. And I would say sometimes it can last a year, even easily, even in a 2 years kind of territory. So I think after 1 or 2 years into the business, I was kind of starting to feel like I'm going to quit this. There's interest, but I'm never going to be able to live from this. And you sometimes need some help. And I think Kate was someone on my side that I think it's something that you should keep going. And that was a very important thing and an advice I can give to everybody. Don't give up at the beginning, even if it's not much. Keep on going, and by doing so, actually, when I was doing my work, my transition was a gradual one. I went from working full time to waiting at least, I think it was about 2.5 years, and I had something around going about 50,000 or more, maybe 100,000 subscribers, that I managed to make a little income, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to ask my job to work part-time. So I gradually gauged the risk of, like, I'm not going to jump into saying, oh, that's it, I'm a YouTuber. I've waited until I had some revenue I wanted to have a little bit of revenue that kind of that would almost be the same as what my part-time job would pay me. So that would be the other half I've just left. And it was a bit less. I was losing a little bit of money, and that's how I actually grew the whole thing. I went full-time, totally on my own time. Then I went part-time, doing part-time YouTube, part-time job. And then when the money was right and you kind of make the same money, you tell your boss, well, I'm sorry, I don't really have time for this anymore. I'm going to stop the job. And then you transition to the full-time. That's how I do it. Not everybody does it like this, but I think it's something that's reasonable, and you can be cautious. Take some measure, and even if it takes a long time, you can definitely do it. But it's a matter of waiting the right moment. The time has to be right, and otherwise you may do the wrong step. And there's some good things about that if you take your time, because you need to learn about the whole stuff. Being a creator, making your content, posting video stuff. That you don't instantly become an expert YouTuber on day one, unless you're someone like that. But yeah, that was my transition anyway.
Yeah, I think that's actually quite a smart way of doing it, because there's this camp that is, hey, go all in, otherwise you're not going to be successful. You need to put in 80 hours a week, quit your job, quit your relationships, quit everything, focus just on this. And there's the other half that we talk to who seem to gradually work their way up to it and kind of transition in. Those ones seem to be the more successful ones.
The art of the slow burn. Sometimes Kate says that, like, it's look. There's two things. I think one. Look, first off, YouTube is changing all the time. Was different when I started. You could do things a different way back then, but there is really two types of, like, I think what you say is quite valid. There's two types of people and content creator. You've got the you can be a sprinter, or you can be a kind of marathon runner. That's why you got these two camps, because to some extent, yes, I think the slow burn is a safe way, and it will, in the long term, lead you to what you want, and you can have an income and work full time. But that said, it's true that nowadays, if you're young enough, you've got the energy level, you know how much time you want to spend of your life on YouTube, you could go like with the posting a lot, follow trends, and accelerate your growth. I mean, that's something that if you have the energy, I would only recommend this if you're young, you got ideas, you want to make something relevant, and you're ready for it. And that can work as well. I think in this day and age, you can also do this. But yeah, the slow burn is a safer approach that is not going to disrupt your life too much. You're not going to kind of, drop everything. You have time to organize yourself. And if you have it's important to say, like, YouTube is great, but you have a personal life, right? And this is the thing you need to integrate into your venture, your business, your YouTube, whatever. Always think, okay, it's good, I'm trying to grow something, but don't dismiss your partner or your friends or whatever, because this is where things can get sour. So
Yeah, you need that support system for sure. Okay, and I know you've got the YouTube. Those videos seem to be sort of where you kind of started. And then over the years, you've definitely grown and diversified. What are all the different kind of projects within this that you're doing? And what are all the different revenue streams that you've been able to create just from literally starting a YouTube channel and sharing your experience in learning how to cook, pretty much? What are all the different ways you've been able to diversify? Because I think that's one valuable thing that not all content creators think of, is all the different ways that you can diversify your income, versus when you have a job, it's like there's only one stream of income. Whereas what you can do if you're clever, once you've got a community, is you can do multiple things to kind of like offset the risk or to really help, make it a bit more even and not rely on one golden goose egg. So what are all the different projects you have under you, like stemming from the YouTube channel? And then what are all the different ways that you've been able to kind of, generate revenue from this?
Well, the first thing is like, you've heard, of course, of, the creator economy. When I started, that creator economy was kind of just starting. Nowadays, it's great because online you get plenty of ways where when you have an audience, when you do something online or being a YouTube channel or whatever, you can indeed diversify. So, of course, the obvious to always get into when you start a YouTube channel is going to be affiliate marketing. You can have brand deals, you can work with brands. I personally never got sponsors and work with brands just as a choice. I do have some affiliate marketing. When you sell products, you recommend product. There's the first little things you venture into, like to get extra revenue. But as a cooking person, a lot of time you can get approached and you can potentially, if you want, be hired to do like an event or record, some kind of a recipe or an Instagram reel or something like that for a company with some products. So that's the kind of the thing that you can use your skills of filming, editing, to make this mini commercial, or again, it's all to do with affiliate marketing and product placement. This is of the thing we've tried. But mainly these things were not really, it depends on you, but it was not really this kind of avenue I wanted to go. And I don't know, I didn't want to make myself as a kind of an agency that creates food content. I just wanted to focus on the education. And for us, the biggest revenue, I think in 2020, what we decided to is to get serious. And okay, now we have the YouTube channel, that's great, but we wanted to do an online course. So digital product is really the next step, the serious step you're going to take as a creator. That's what a lot of people do. You work around a digital product. For us, of course, it was create our first online cooking course. That was a course for beginners to teach all the ins and outs of French cooking. And that's what we set out to do on 2020. And that has been a total game changer on how we perceive the things we do. Of course, revenue-wise, it's much more reliable, et cetera, et cetera. And this is something we've honed on ever since. So the education side of things, on the side of YouTube, has been something we've been really, really relying on. That, Patreon, of course, you can also have, platforms like this to get some revenue where you can give some extra content. That's also something else you can do. We do have a Patreon page, but again, it's not something we focus on like full time. We do have some people we offer something, but it's not what we've chosen. So there's been plenty of little revenue, but comes a point you need to choose on something that you really want to own in, because you want to specialize, because if you don't, you're gonna have all these little bits and bobs, and it's a lot of work, a lot of demand, a lot of clients, a lot of people asking you for stuff, and you need to deliver us as well. So for us, it was the school. It was an amazing adventure. We actually went to, quite a story there. We went all the way to France for a year, and we did 1 year of kind of vlogging, filming on location, a bit like a tour de France of food. Me with the camera in markets. And that was pretty cool. Yeah, we were walking around with like, 2 suitcases, and one of them was just filled with like pans and knives. And of course, there's no lift in like this cheap accommodation in France. You like the 7th story of your suitcase, and guarding falling off the bags in the train. And it's like, oh my God, that's just. And we ended up in Lyon. We rented a really good studio with a nice kitchen, and that's where we filmed our first course. It looked like a proper kitchen, and that was our first big success actually. With that first course, we announced via YouTube the opening of the school, and then with the making of that course, and that's it. That has been great. Now, fast forward today, you've heard like we're going to publish a book now. So that's another thing that we're venturing into the authorship, like being able to write and publish books, which is something else you can do as well if you're good in writing. It depends on your skill set, really. Cooking is one thing, but there's plenty of other things. Are you a good speaker? Do you want to be a presenter? You can do a demonstration to like, food venues. You can be doing cooking classes for people at home, be a chef at home. There's plenty of things that can be done, but
Yeah.
For us, it was
No, it's super
education
interesting.
and books. Yeah, lots
Yeah.
of things.
And I think one of the big key learnings for everybody listening here is, you don't have to have this crazy studio. Literally go and stay in an Airbnb to film a course, or go and change your location to film that course. And the thing that I love about digital products is that, you create it once and you continually keep selling it. And so, there's a lot of value with the ongoing recurring revenue that you can make from that content. So I think content creation, education is a natural first step for YouTube channels that have got some traction. In terms of the kind of, let's say, first few hundred students at the school, how did you kind of acquire those people? Was it all from the YouTube channel, or did you find something else that worked really well for getting students into the academy?
So this is an interesting point. Sorry, like a lot of people think, and there's a conception that when you have a following on YouTube, you're gonna use YouTube to launch your product or anything like this. And actually, this is the last thing you want to do. YouTube it's great for following. It's great to start a brand, put yourself out there. But anything that links to business or being serious or product launch, YouTube can help a little bit, but it's really not the thing that you have to use. Like what you have to use, as always, what I would recommend is always an email list. As soon as you start growing your business, if you have even a website, have a pop-up saying, I'm going to give you a free book, some tips, whatever. Start to gather some emails and build a relationship with some people. You can do this via Facebook group. For us, it was the classic email list. So we had already, we've been running some years. We're fortunate enough to have like several thousands of people already on our email list. And the path we've chosen to actually launch that course, because we had no experience, was actually to take the advice from one of, like courses you can take. It was from our course provider, and have a launch plan on how all the steps with email and what you need to do, and teasers and pre-launch and stuff like that. And we trusted the process. And at the end of the funnel, it was saying, well, based on the amount of subscribers on an email list, you most likely will make 1 or 2% of sales. So let's say if you get 1,000 people, 1 or 2% of these people are going to buy your course if you do it right. And we went with that model, and it was actually totally true. It actually succeeded. It worked as planned, to our amazement, because I said, no, this is never going to work. So you're sweating all the way to the end. You send all these emails, and you're just, oh my God, like, oh yes, it's going to launch. And then the final day, you have to click that button, of course, and so that's it. It's open, and you're anxiously waiting, looking at your screen. Oh, is there any people signing up?
Waiting for the first one.
And and surprisingly, it went really well. It's really worked. People started to come in, and I remember that we were finished with the course, and you're looking at your screen, you see all these enrollment on your platform flowing in, like tak. Like, oh my God, everybody's joining. And so it was a success story. So definitely, I would recommend it. The email list is super vital. If you're in any kind of, you don't know where to go, you don't know how to promote, you don't know where to get your stuff, build your email list as early as you can. And one thing that someone told me about that thing is that YouTube, why is it bad? Because lots of passerby, and it's like trying to sell a car to someone you meet on the street, and talk to someone 5 minutes, say, hey, do you want to buy a car for $10,000? No. You need to build that relationship. That's what you can do on an email list. That's why it's valuable.
Yeah, and I think one thing that puts it in perspective is that all of these social channels, you don't actually own that connection with the viewers, the followers, and that sort of stuff. Whereas the email list, you actually own that connection, and you can contact them whenever you need, when you have whatever you need, and they've actually opted in to hear from you. So they're much more likely to be receptive of what you're trying to, tell them, promote to them, get them to enroll in, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's a great point. And then I know your website looks amazing, by the way. Not everybody has the gift of having an amazing looking website with nice pop-ups and everything. Was there any other way that you built your email list apart from just having your website pop up?
Well, you can always, there's plenty now. That is the great thing about nowadays. There's so many platform and third-party things you can, if you don't have a website, MailChimp, things like this. They can. We had like a landing page, so we didn't even have a website at some point. Or I had subscribed to like mail providers, and they will give you what's called a landing page. So it's like a one pager with, you put a line, your face. This is what we do, and subscribe for our newsletter or something, or get some recipe every week and stuff like this. So you don't need to have the shiny websites. And you can get this function in plenty of platforms, and that's what I did at the beginning. And I had that link under my YouTube channel, for instance. Sometimes, hey, you want to join the newsletter? They click on it, and all what they were saying was that front page is okay. I'm gonna join in, and you can have some of those in Instagram, on Pinterest, or all your social media, being your website, wherever in Facebook, whatever you have, you can have a landing page, and there's tons of easy ways to collect emails. This is really not difficult. You don't need to have the super duper website and pop-ups. This, it's easy to do. It's just a matter of thinking, yes, I need to do it, because other people think, oh no, it's not really worth it. Nope, it is.
And and then in your videos or in your social content, do you kind of like ask people to subscribe, or does it just naturally occur?
I usually do it from time to time. I'm not as diligent as a lot of people. Every single video they would say like and subscribe. I like more the organic process, but definitely it is also something that is true in the law of business and social media. Reminding people to take action is something that always works. So yes, telling people, reminding them to subscribe, to ring that bell button if it's a YouTube channel to make sure they got the notification, is something that is definitely have them click or look at your link that you say, yeah, I've got a newsletter down below there in the description. If you click on it, and they will most likely do it. If you don't say anything, maybe some things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people worry that they come across as annoying or spammy, but I don't. It's not that at all. I think the way that you deliver it, just saying, hey, if you really like this content, there's more below, or there's more if you sign up. I don't think people should be scared to say that, because a lot of the time I think the viewers are actually curious, and if they're not reminded, they just click to the next video or move on. So I know a lot of content creators are scared to ask sometimes, but I think it does, depending on how you want to say it, I think it actually is just a friendly reminder more than anything in most cases. Yeah,
and people get used to it. Like you said, if there's a way to say it, like don't be too spammy, but sorry. But no, I think people get used to it.
Okay, awesome. And then next question I was going to say, your YouTube channel, something that's unique about it is the amount of engagement that you get on your videos. You have so many comments, so much engagement, even on your social stuff that you post to Facebook and the other platforms. What do you think you're doing right? Why do you think you have this really passionate audience that are commenting and having discussions? And, there's a lot of different cooking channels, a lot of people who do cooking, but yours seems to have like a by far above average engagement rate on your content. What do you feel like you're doing right there?
Sorry, I think the simple solution is, first off, be yourself. This is the first advice I can give to anyone. Don't try. A lot of people try too hard to be something or act a certain way. Just be genuine. I think all what we've always done is like be genuine. Just be myself. Be very open. And I kind of always valued the community and the people. And I like the interaction. So I've got a genuine interest into that relationship. Like, I love the cooking side and make my things, and I really enjoy when someone says, oh, I've tried this at home and things like this. And it is that, I think that connection of, when someone asks a comment, I will reply. Like most of the time, even now, I'm still trying to reply to comments. Even with 700,000 subscribers, I'm still going on there when I post videos and, having a chat with people. And that these little things I think kind of help. And it just feels more personal, and you want to have that little connection that people think, it's just a bit like a friend, are you teaching cooking, or can I ask you something? Yeah, sure. And that's what I think, that's what people like, is just the kind of simple, genuine, approachable. Maybe I'm just, quite an easygoing guy. Maybe that's why as well. Just like, okay, I think I can ask a question. Like, I don't come across as too scary.
Yeah, well, your content is really good, and I think it's very approachable, and you do really kind of focus on appealing to the right person. Like, you know, there's some cooking shows that are super advanced, super fast, you know, everything's crazy hard to do. So I think people like watching it, but they don't actually follow the advice or do it. Whereas your content is always like, you know, easiest way to do something or fastest way to do something or like how to do this at home. So I think your content is actually very approachable too, which might help there. I'm not sure, but that was one takeaway that I had from going through some of the videos.
Oh, well, thanks. It's always good to hear some good feedback. Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
And just to wrap up on the last few questions, your content is fantastic. Is there any tips for other people who are creating content for YouTube or social media, Patreon, whatever it is? Any tips that you have or any learnings after the, you know, last 6 years that you're like, okay, this is something that works or this is something that you shouldn't do? Is there any advice for creating really good content?
I think for me, if I had to go back, like if I take my experience, definitely there's some things that I would have done differently. I guess now times have changed, so I guess people are more clued up about everything. When I started with no experience, no knowledge, and I've learned everything on the job, like the video editing, the filming. And that has kind of slowed me down a lot, and the quality of the video when you start a lot and things, and you have to learn things yourself and you lose time. One of the tips I would say to someone starting today would be, what has really helped me that I've noticed afterward is engage in this. You can buy these little courses online, even from other creators, which is great, on how to do your editing, sound things, choosing a few setups, set up a little things to have a good quality setup. That is going to fast track your, your creation. So already you're going to have the good sound. Sound, for instance, is the most important thing of all. Like if you have terrible looking video, but good sound, most likely people will stay watching your video because they don't mind too much the visual. But the sound, for instance, if people can't hear you, it's crackly or whatever, they're going to go away. If you don't know about that because you don't have experience with sound, you think, I think I'm fine. You're going to lose some subscribers. So definitely taking courses and learning the basic stuff about, video creation and stuff like this, that is going to help. For the content, I think it's very important, of course, to be really generally liking what you choose to do. So whatever content, if you're doing tutorials or you do gaming or you talk about just marketing or whatever, you need to have something that is really your thing. A lot of people ask me like, how do you find the perfect thing and stuff like that? Like, it doesn't have to be like the golden thing you absolutely love. It has to be something that you can tell yourself, okay, can I do this day in, day out for the next year without feeling like, oh my God, there's going to be a drag. If it's something, I'm okay. For me, it was cooking. I can cook. It doesn't bother me when I go back on the camera and cook. If you reach that level, you're fine. So choose something definitely that you're going to be able to do over and over and over again, because that's going to happen.
It is repetitive.
Yes. And it's gonna, most important, this is one of the things, the key to when we start with the success is because people can totally see through you. If you think you're making an act or something, or you pretend to like something and you don't, even by the slightest margin, honestly, on a video, people just see it immediately. And this is so true. So this is very important. You rather take something that you like and not doing too well because people say, this is genuine, rather than try to pretend to copy someone else. You have to be consistent as well. That is very important. I think for me, at time it was a little bit patchy, something I was stopping, I was starting, so you got to have bumps. Get into the rhythm or having a consistency. And consistency doesn't mean you need to post, like you said, millions of videos. Find something that fits your lifestyle, especially when you start. So how much time can you dedicate to your business or your YouTube? And then you say, okay, I can do 1 day a week or maybe 2 days a month. It doesn't matter, but get a schedule that you can cope with so you don't burn out, and stick with this. And then you can go for, a year or two to start with. And that's going to give you time as well to get the experience, go through the process, get used to the whole thing, because it is a big thing when like you say, it's a job, when you start to go beyond the fun factor, you're going to realize, I'm out of work. Yeah, that's not exactly like a hobby anymore. So that is very important.
Yeah, and that's one of the things where I think content creators in general, we'll start doing this more, but it is a full-time job. So you do need to get paid. So thinking about the monetization strategies or the ways that you generate revenue, super important, because it's very hard to do if you can't support the, the amount of time that you're putting into it, because, you wouldn't work for free in anything else. So why should it be the same with all this content that you're creating? So yeah, that's a big part of it. But
yeah, definitely. And there's one thing you think we've mentioned when we started, which is, I think it's something I didn't do, but it's about brand identity. As early as you can, it is very important to be able to define what is your offering or what is you doing, even if it's for fun. If you can describe in one line what is your activity about or your business about, you're fine. If you can't explain what you're doing in one, which I'm still struggling today, it means you haven't nailed down the concept. And I think that brand identity really helps for direction, where you want to go, the monetization, whatever you want to do, having that brand identity very early on and say, you know what, this is what we are, this is what we do, this is what we offer. That helps a lot, because otherwise you're going to go in random direction. That's what I did wrong at the beginning. Am I doing tutorials, or am I education, or am I this, or am I that? Or I even did some television at some point. So to tell you, I went on a cooking show on SBS, in Australian national television, and I had no experience. I think I was 2 years in my YouTube career. Suddenly I was on a studio doing a cooking competition. What the heck am I doing here? And I'm like, it was like totally random at times. So yeah.
Yeah.
Brand identity, very important, know what you're doing, and it's important.
Yeah, because we did a podcast on this actually a few weeks ago on the brand identity. And the biggest takeaway from that was, if you know what your brand identity is, and if you can sum it up in that one line that you're talking about, that helps you make all of the decisions in your business. So is this working towards or away from my brand identity? So should I do this? Should I not do this? And if you understand what you are and what you do and the value you provide, it's an easy yes or no to a lot of those questions. So, for example, that cooking show, is that aligned with me being an expert at home, content creator that teaches people through an academy? Going on a cooking show, probably not. And so also when you have one goal, so what's your one goal? Okay, it's number of students that I can help in my academy. It's easy to kind of make those decisions. But yeah, I think brand is huge. And I think that's where people are successful or not. The people who build a strong brand are very successful. The people who can't build a strong brand kind of end up phasing in and out pretty quickly. But and super interesting insights.
The second important also, what I would say is targeting. Like when we say targeting, it sounds as a very salesy, businessy kind of thing, but targeting, in fact, is what is your audience? What is your core audience? And if you can also focus on that, then it's very important to say, okay, who am I talking to? What is my, whatever you do, okay, what is the people I'm going to interest? Is it an age group? Are these ladies, a gentleman, or whatever, or both? All these things. And that, again, helps a lot, because you can really focus just on this. And so you got the brand identity, you can answer question, take direction, and then you know where to aim, what you put your energy towards, because that links to that cooking show things. If you go and spend energy in the wrong thing, it's not going to bring you anything, because your audience is not, they're not interested in that stuff. So that's also very important to know, if you can, as early as you can, like to target, this is the kind of group that I'm, that I'm aiming at. I don't like the term aiming because it sounds like a really bad term, but I think I would say just like know who your audience is. I would translate that to this.
Yeah. No, and I think a lot of people, skip over that and cause a lot of problems later down the line. But either way, Stephane, thank you so much for coming on the show. To wrap up, what are you working on now? What's your latest project? Where can people find out more? Where can people kind of sign up to learn more about you or what you're doing?
Well, if you go on our website, you will have in the full rundown, so the FrenchCookingAcademy.com, you have access to all the course we offer. So this is an online culinary school. The YouTube channel, just type French Cooking Academy, and you'll find us there. Of course, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, that sort of things as well, because we've been, for some time. But What's coming this year is our first cookbook. That's going to be quite
Nice.
something
Congrats.
because interesting. Yeah, it's we never done that before, so yeah, that's an exciting project. And this year, yeah, we're going to have again talking about newsletter. If you want to join the newsletter, actually, we have some exciting hidden project we're going to reveal this year. A bit of a brand new thing that is going to be super exciting. That's again community based, and I think to wrap up, I would say so. Don't forget, if you're a creator, your community is important.
Yeah.
Don't dismiss them or thinking they're just numbers or whatever. You know, like you talk about being genuine, take care of your community, and you know that's one of the keys to success.
Yeah, agree. And yeah, I think you're doing a great job of that. So well done on that front. But Stephane, thank you
Thank
so
you very
much for
much.
coming on. Really appreciate
no
the time.
problem.
Everybody listening, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this or hear about more, entrepreneurs and content creators, turning a side gig into their main business. But appreciate all you guys listening, and thank you so much, Stephane.
Okay, see you.
Hey guys, we put a bunch of effort into making great content for this YouTube channel, so please hit subscribe, leave us a comment, hit like, and tell a few friends about it.